And I'll start by talking about Pygmalion in the classroom. The source of the word Pygmalion is ancient Greece. Pygmalion was a sculptor. And what he did was, when he came of age, was looking for his ideal woman. He wanted to get married. So he went and looked around Athens, where he lived. He looked around the whole of Greece. He looked around the Greek Empire. He looked beyond the Greek Empire, looking for his ideal woman, a woman whom he could marry. And he couldn't find her, no matter where he looked. I mean, it's understandable. This was before 1879, which is when Radcliffe was founded, and long before Harvard became co-ed. So he couldn't find his ideal woman, and he went back to Athens, and that said to himself, well, instead of finding that ideal woman, I will create a sculpture, as he was a sculptor. I will create a sculpture in her image. And he created that sculpture, and when he looked at her, he was so overwhelmed with emotion and sadness that he couldn't find her, that he began to cry. And then Zeus, Athena, and especially Aphrodite, looking down on him, took mercy and brought the statue to life. And of course, they lived happily ever after. So this is the source of the word Pygmalion. Pygmalion was then taken by George Bernard Shaw, who created a play based on a similar idea, which was later made into a musical, My Fair Lady. And the idea here is how Higgins, doctor of linguistics, took a flower girl and molded her, in a sense, into being royalty. What, of course, happened throughout the story was that she molded him more and transformed him. Fascinating story, and a very important story at the time, because it challenged the whole class system, that people are born into a certain place and cannot and should not be moved. So a very important play at that time, as well as today, about Pygmalion and how people can be changed, can be transformed. In the 1960s, Robert Rosenthal, who was the head of our department for many years, he's now at UC Riverside, took this idea of Pygmalion and applied it in the classroom. Here is what he did. Rosenthal went into a group of random schools. And what he did there was, went to the students, had them take a test, and then go to their teachers after and tell the teachers, your students just took a new test that was devised, a new academic test, which is called the Fast Spurters test. What that means is that we identified students who are going to take a big leap, intellectual leap forward in this coming year. A spurt forward in this coming year. In other words, what he was saying, it identifies the students with the highest potential. And what he found then was, when he told these students, the teachers, or what he told these teachers was that, this is just an FYI. You cannot tell the students this. We don't want any discrimination in your school. But just so you know, these are your fast spurters. It's a new test, newly devised. Just so you know. Unbeknownst to the teacher, the actual test that was given those students was a regular off-the-shelf IQ test. Also unbeknownst to the teachers was that these students' names, who were deemed fast spurters, highest potential students, were literally randomly picked out of a hat. So these were regular students, like all other students, but the teachers thought they were fast spurters. Robert Rosenthal leaves the school, comes back in at the end of the year. And here is what he finds. He looks at their English scores. The fast spurters improved significantly more than any of the other students. He looked at their math scores, because English is not really objective, and maybe it was the teachers who thought they were better than they were really, so he looked at their math objective scores. These students improved significantly more than any of the other students. But here is the clincher. Robert Rosenthal administered, once again, an IQ test for all the students. And what he found was that the students who were labeled, randomly so, but who were labeled fast spurters, their IQ increased significantly over the year and maintained that increase in a longitudinal study. Now, this is mind-boggling. I mean, IQ is supposed to be your intelligence quotient that you're born with. It's immutable. It doesn't change from the day you're born to the day you die, or so they thought. It changed significantly just based on the belief that the teacher had in her or his students. Beliefs as self-fulfilling prophecies. What happened in this study? Was it that the teachers were fooled and suddenly were made to see an illusion? They saw an illusion? No. It was that they were eluded before. There was an illusion before, and the illusion was that they didn't see what was right in front of their very eyes, which is the potential inherent in every single student. And then Robert Rosenthal comes and fools them in a sense, but fools them into seeing what has been there all along. Before Rosenthal came, they didn't see the children on the bus, so to speak. After that, they suddenly, in some children, saw that potential that was there all along. And they appreciated that potential, and that potential appreciated. They watered it, they shed light on it, and the seed germinated and grew. This is exactly what Marva Collins does day in and day out in school. She sees the potential that is there. She's not inventing something. She's not detached from reality. It's rather that people who don't see the potential in other people as well as in themselves, as we'll discuss, they're not seeing the full reality. They're only seeing part of it. They're completely missing the children on the bus. And we know how easy it is to miss parts of reality, even though they're right in front of our very eyes. All it often takes is a question that takes us on a quest, and we miss what we have seen before. Whether it was research with at-risk population, whether it was the geometrical shapes, whether it's asking only negative questions about our relationship or about ourselves, or whether it's not seeing the potential that exists in just about all kids. If only we see it. And if we see it, appreciate it, we water it, we shed light on it, and it appreciates, it grows. So what Rosenthal did was simply shift their attention to something that was there all along. Same in the workplace, replicated hundreds and thousands of times, the Pygmalion effect. It was replicated in the workplace where leaders were told, or managers were told, these are your top, highest potential employees. And these employees, again randomly picked, actually became the highest potential employees. And they succeeded much more. Retention went up for them, performance went up, they were more likely to advance in the organization and stay in the organization, just as a result of expectation. This also works the other way. Jameson, back in 1987, did this fascinating study where what she said was, let's see if it works the other way. So she went to 2 classes that were taught by the same teacher, and before the class started, told just one of the classes that this teacher was ranked extremely highly by other students before, that they, as professional psychologists, rated that teacher as extremely high, and then they left them. What happened by the end of the year? First of all, the teacher was rated higher by the intervention group than by the control group, but also the students put in actually more time into the class, and they outperformed the control group because they were made to believe that the teacher was better than supposedly he or she were. In other words, they saw the potential in the teacher. They performed, not even the teacher did perform better, but the students actually performed better when they had higher expectations, when they believed in their teachers. So, if you want to do well in 1504, you know what you need to do, right? It works. Beliefs, a self-fulfilling prophecy. We create our reality. Goethe, treat a man as he is and he will remain as he is. Treat a man as he can and should be, and he shall become as he can and should be.